All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. In this video here, this is one of my key criterias that I've used when ranking players a while back. The number one criteria for me was winning. Obviously, winning to me is more invaluable than any kind of a stat or a skill or anything else like that you're going to present. Now that's part of it, and that's factored in, of course. But the number one thing was winning with the amount of opportunities that you had to win. And I've said this in other videos, that was simply if you made it to the finals or if you were a number one seed, meaning you had home court advantage throughout the playoffs. And I know some people push back on that and say, oh, well, home court doesn't necessarily mean anything. If you are an all-time great, it should mean a lot, because that's the advantage you need. Unless, of course, you're going up against another all-time great. But if you have the one seed, then you and your team should be above the other team. Anyway, this one here was the one I held the second highest. And that was the ability to make your teammates better, maximizing your teammates. The obvious appearance of your presence on the team makes the team better. The players on your team better. They're better with you on the team than they are without you on a different team before you got there. If this player left and went to another team, they're not the same as with these particular players. And for me, when I looked at it, the three guys that stood out were Magic Johnson, Bill Russell, and Michael Jordan. Those three stood out among the rest. Now, there are other guys, absolutely. Larry Bird comes to mind. He was certainly one of them. And then there were other guys too. It wasn't, just him, whatever. But those three really stood out above every other all-time great. So I'll start with Bill Russell, because he, from a long time ago. And these are the kind of pieces of evidence I was looking for. Now, if you've already got your mind made up that, oh, well, Bill Russell had a bunch of Hall of Famers, it wasn't a big deal for them to win, then it doesn't matter anything that this video is about to be presented to you. You're just going to go in one ear and out the other. But if you're an open-minded person, you'll at least listen to what I have to say. I think that you'll see that there's some evidence here to support that. And it wasn't just Bill Russell had a bunch of Hall of Famers on his team. It was that Bill Russell enhanced all these players, made good players great players, made average players decent players, that kind of thing, and made really good players into great players. That's what I'm talking about right there. And here we go. So Boston Celtics 1953. I'm going to start right there. Their record is 46-25. They lost in the East Finals 3-1 against Syracuse. All right? I think it was Syracuse. Actually, I'm not sure on that, who that was. But, I think it was Syracuse. But anyway, on that team, they had two first-team All-NBA players, Bill Sharman and Bob Cousy. And they had one second-team All-NBA player, and that was their center, Ed McCauley. Well, as you can see, they lost in the East Division Finals 3-1. So you got 3 of the top 10 players in the NBA on one team, and you couldn't even get to the finals, okay? Go to 1955. You got 4 Hall of Famers on your team. That would consist of Frank Ramsey, Ed McCauley, Bill Sharman, and Bob Cousy. Again, they lost 3-1 in the East Finals. Syracuse. The next year in 1956, again, 4 Hall of Famers. They lost 2-1 in the Eastern Division semifinals against Syracuse. It was a best of 3. So In 1956, Bob Cousy was giving you 18.8 points per game, 6.8 rebounds, and 8.9 assists. That led the NBA. He was first team All-NBA. He was third for MVP. Bill Sharman is given 19.9 points, 86.7% free throw shooter. He was the best in the league. Was also first team All-NBA. He finished fifth for MVP. So you have two of the top five players for MVP. And again, you can't even get to the conference finals. Also on that team, you had Ed McCauley. He was an all-star, Hall of Famer, center, giving you 17.5 points and 5.9 rebounds. There was another Hall of Fame center on that team, Arnie Rison, 8.1 points, 8.1 rebounds. I think he was like 31 years old, whatever. They had Jack Nichols, power forward, giving you 14.3 points and 10.4 rebounds. Jim Loskatoff, 8.3 points, 8.8 rebounds. They had a good team, a very good team, but they couldn't do anything with all these Hall of Famers, all NBA players, all-stars, all this assist leader, free throw leader, all this stuff. They couldn't do anything with it. Bill Russell joins Boston. And in 1957, Bob Cousy goes from 18.8 points to 20.6 points. So he goes up 1.8 points per game. His assists went down about 1.5, but he still led the league with 7.5 assists. And Bob Cousy won the MVP. And a big reason was because Bill Russell missed 1/3 of the season. He missed 24 of 72 games, exactly 1/3 of the season. Now, they only increased by 5 wins, but they won the championship. And a player like Bill Sharman, for example. Now, Bill Sharman, before Bill Russell got there, age 24 to 29. Obviously, that is his absolute prime. His best season was 19 points per game, 19.9 points per game before Russell got there. But then, 1957, with Russell, his age 30 season, he goes up to 21.1. Bill Sharman never averaged 20 points in his 20s. But with Bill Russell, at age 30, he goes to 21.1. At age 31 and 58, he goes to 22.3. And at age 32 and 59, he goes to 20.4. All 3 seasons better than anything he did before Bill Russell got there. And remember, they had a Hall of Fame center, Ed McCauley, already. And Bob Cousy was on the team too. They came in at the same time, same year, 1951. All right, there's my first piece of evidence right there, that Bill Russell made these guys better, period. Now, next piece of evidence has to do with Bailey Howell. This one is glaring. He didn't have a lot of guys because you couldn't really switch teams back then, but the couple of examples I do have. Bailey Howell, age 28 and 29. Obviously, that's probably the heart of his prime. When he was on Baltimore, he averaged 18.4 points per game between 1965 and 1966. Those 2 years, he averaged 18.4. He was the 4th leading scorer on Baltimore. He comes over to Boston, who already had John Havlicek, Sam Jones. They had scores, right? So why wouldn't Bailey Howell's numbers take a dip? You know, he's going to take a back seat to these guys, right? Wrong. Bailey Howell, from 1967 to 1969, the 3 years he played with Russell, his ages are 30 to 32. So that is starting to get outside your prime. In those 3 years, he averaged 19.8 points per game. That's 1.4 more. That's the Bill Russell effect right there. And then the very next season, in 1970, Russell leaves. Bailey Howell drops down to 12.6 points per game, and he played in all 82 games. He wasn't banged up or hurt or anything like that. He just didn't have Bill Russell running the team anymore. And Bill Russell was the coach in 68, 69, and then he also left as a coach as well. But to me, this is prime evidence right here. And then also back to Ed Macauley, the Hall of Fame center that was on Boston from, 53 through 56, those 4 years when they couldn't even make the finals. Well, when Ed Macauley got to St. Louis, he was the starting center. In 1957, they played Boston in the finals. They lost in 7. And then and he was an all-star, Ed Macauley. So it's not like this guy was washed up or anything like that. No, he wasn't. He was a good player. Just Russell was legendary. He was, maybe the GOAT. In 1958, Ed Macauley on St. Louis played Boston in the finals. They beat Boston. Now, granted, Russell was injured and he missed 2 whole games, parts of 2 others. However, Ed Macauley is the only player that I know of who had a winning record against Boston in the finals during their dynasty. Only Ed Macauley. He's the only one. I mean, incredible. And that's the same guy who was the starting center for Boston before Russell got there. When they're having 3 All-NBA players, 2 of them being first team, and they can't even get to the finals. Bill Russell is what made them get to the finals and form a dynasty. All these players, Frank Ramsey, Casey Jones, these guys are not Hall of Famers without Bill Russell. No shot. They were 0-time All-Stars. I believe players like Tom Heinsohn probably wouldn't have been. And you know how many first ballot Hall of Famers were from the entire Boston dynasty? First ballot. Not just later on write-ins or whatever. There was 2 guys. It was Bob Cousy and it was John Havlicek. That's it. There was no other first ballot Hall of Famers. Well, hell, Tim Duncan's got that. Ginobili and Parker were first ballot Hall of Famers. And I bet you Kawhi Leonard. That'll be 3 first ballot Hall of Famers. Actually, if you want to count David Robinson, he's already got 3 first. He's got Tim Duncan played with more first ballot Hall of Famers than Bill Russell did. That's a fact. Look it up. All right. On to the next player. Magic Johnson. Now, Magic Johnson's got a bunch of evidence as well. I mean, 1979, before Magic got there, the Lakers were 47-35. They got beat in 5 in the Western Conference semifinals to Seattle. Okay? Now, you're thinking, well, 47-win team. Why were they a 47-win team? The 79 Lakers had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Norm Nixon, Jamal Wilkes, Adrian Dantley. Dantley's in the Hall of Fame. Wilkes is in the Hall of Fame. Kareem's a top 5 all-time player. And you even had Lou Hudson, a Hall of Famer, on that team as well. You had all these guys, and yet you can't even get to the West Finals. Kareem never won a single game in the West Finals on the Lakers. When he got there, they never reached the West Finals. They did, but they never won a game. They got swept. Kareem never won a game in the West Finals in 4 seasons, 76 through 79, in 4 years. And he had Hall of Famers. He had Gail Goodrich. He had, like I said, Jamal Wilkes and Adrian Dantley and Lou Hudson. He had these guys. And Norm Nixon was en route to being a Hall of Famer, but he got injured later on. But anyway, Magic Johnson comes along. They go from a 47-35 win team to a 60-22 team and win the championship. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 79, his numbers are 23.8 points per game, 57.7% shooting. In 1980, with Magic, he goes up to 24.8 points per game on 60.4% shooting. More points on better shooting. Why? Because Kareem was putting them in position to be better shooters, just like Bill Russell did. Now, Jamal Wilkes, he was averaging 18.6 points per game in 79 on 50.4% shooting. Magic comes in 1980, suddenly Wilkes is averaging 20 points a game on 53.5% shooting. He's up 3.1%, giving an extra 1.5. Now, Adrian Dantley averaged exactly what Magic Johnson did his rookie year. So basically, Magic just replaced Adrian Dantley for the offense they lost with Dantley. They just gained it with Magic. That was literally a wash between those two players. But Magic brought so much more than just scoring points. Norm Nixon, another guy, 17.1 points per game in 79. He's the point guard. Magic's playing shooting guard. Nixon goes up half a point. Magic didn't take anything away from it. He enhanced all these players. It's unbelievable. And another example that I think is a really good one, James Worthy, at age 29 in 1991, with Magic, is given 21.4 points per game on 49.2% shooting. Magic goes away. Worthy's now lead dog. You'd think he'd be getting more points because typically that's what would happen maybe if the lead dog leaves, that there's more opportunities for scoring and whatnot. Nope. Worthy went down a point and a half to 19.9 on 44.7% shooting. They lost no one else. It was Eldon Campbell, Vlade Divac, Byron Scott, AC Green, Tony Teagle. It was the same exact team minus Magic. That's exactly what it was. Magic Johnson on his team had these all-stars: Kareem, Jamal Wilkes, Norm Nixon, James Worthy, AC Green, MVP Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Defensive Player of the Year Michael Cooper. Now, typically, a player as good as Magic, a high-profile, high-caliber player, you're not going to be able to allow other players on the team to be getting all of this. You know what I mean? Usually. But when somebody is as good as a Bill Russell or Magic Johnson, they create all-stars and Hall of Famers. I mean, Michael Cooper's in the Hall of Fame. So is Worthy. So is Wilkes. So is Kareem. These guys are in the Hall of Fame. Now, would they have been without Magic? I mean, Kareem surely would have. The other guys, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We'll never know for sure. And Nixon would have been if not for his injuries. So, in 1989, Kareem's last year, he's 42 years old. The Lakers sweep the West playoffs, but it came at a price. Byron Scott got hurt. He didn't get a play in the finals. That's obviously a blow. And then Magic gets injured in game 2, pulled his hamstring, and it's a close game. I think they lost by like 3 points. And then he tried to go again in game 3. He couldn't. It was over. No, your backcourt is out of it. You're finished. That was it. They got swept. But, I mean, come on. You know, I mean, Kareem's 42 years old. Byron Scott's out and Magic is hobbled. Their chances were remote. Detroit didn't lose a single game to anybody other than the Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals in 2 games. They swept the other 2 rounds out. They were just the best team in the NBA, bar none. But then in 1990, Kareem's gone. He's out. Do the Lakers get worse, take a step back? No, they get better. They go from 57-25 to 63-19. And that's Michael Cooper's last year. And Michael Cooper retires in 1990. So in 91, do they get worse? No. They maybe record-wise, they go down to 58-24, but they're top 5 in offense, top 5 in defense, and they make the finals. I mean, what do you guys want? And then when Magic retired in 91, they lose 15 wins. They go from 58 down to 43 wins in 91 to 92. That's a ton of evidence to me that Magic Johnson made his teammates better, period. And you know how many players were the different leading scorers on the Lakers? You had Kareem, you had James Worthy, you had Byron Scott, and then later on you even had Cedric Ceballos when Magic came back in 1996, and you also had Magic himself. All those guys were different leading scorers on the Lakers. It wasn't just one guy. You know what I mean? It wasn't just Olajuwon like every year or whatever. It wasn't Duncan every year. Everybody had a piece of this. Magic made his teammates better. As good as almost anybody. Other than, I think Russell was a little better, but Magic is just behind him, barely. Okay, the last guy is Michael Jordan. Now, Jordan didn't have a lot of high-level or even like mid-level teammates, before and after kind of thing to compare. But there are a couple of things to go by. Okay, Orlando Woolridge in 1984, before Jordan got there, he's like 24 years old, in his prime. He's averaging 19.3 points per game on 52.5% shooting. Well, that's not bad at all. That's pretty good. Jordan comes to town. He goes up to 22.9 points per game on 55.4% shooting. He gets better. Now, I'm not going to say this other player's name, but there's another guy that when star players join his team, the numbers go right down. They don't go up. They're not enhanced. They go down because he's not making anyone better. But Jordan did. And then when Jordan broke his foot after the third game, Orlando Woolridge goes from 22.9 with Jordan, rookie Jordan, down without Jordan to 20.7 on 49.5% shooting. That's 6% worse. That's a pretty big disparity right there. Now you don't have Jordan. See what I'm saying? To put you in position to draw defenders away, making teammates better. Okay, now Scottie Pippen. Now I'm in the camp that Pippen was in his absolute prime in 94 and 95. Whether Jordan was there or not, those were Pippen's best years. But even with that said, in those 2 years, without Michael Jordan, the greatest point per game scorer the NBA has ever seen, Pippen averaged 22 points per game in 1994 and 21.4 in 1995. Well, Jordan did play like a quarter of the season, but he played 3 quarters without Jordan. Well, Pippen averaged in 1992 21 points per game. So it barely went up without Jordan. I mean, to me, that's crazy. So if Jordan was just a ball hog and a shoot hog and all that, why didn't Pippen start averaging 26, 27 points a game? See what I'm saying? That didn't happen. And also, Scottie Pippen only ever had 3 seasons of 6 assists per game or more. Now, did it happen when Jordan wasn't there, when they were running the true triangle, when it was Pippen was the guy, right? He was the lead guy. Why wasn't he getting 6 and 7 and even 8 assists a game? Jordan's not there anymore. Jordan would facilitate too. He would get 5, 6 assists a game as well. But he's not there. Why wouldn't Pippen absorb more assists? He didn't. He got less. The best 3 seasons Pippen ever had of 6 assists per game or more were in 1991, 1992, and 1993. Maybe Jordan being there led to a lot of those assists. You see what I'm saying? So again, Jordan elevates teammates. Scottie Pippen only ever had 2 years of 50% field goal percentage or more. And guess when they were? When he played with Michael Jordan in 91 and 92. See what I'm saying? Now in the second three-peat, Pippen was getting 3-point happy. He was average, he was shooting like 3, 4, 5 a game. That's what made his field goal percentage come down. I agree. But in 94, 95, that was not the case. And he had ample opportunity to shoot 50%, have 6 assists or more, but he just did it because the Michael Jordan effect. By Jordan being there, it makes everyone better. It makes them shoot better, makes them facilitate better. All those things better by just having him on the court. Your game does not change when Michael Jordan is there. Your game stays the same, but it is enhanced. The same with Magic Johnson and the same with Bill Russell. These guys did not change your game, affect your game, turn you into something you're not. You got to play your game, and Michael, Magic, and Bill Russell all elevated your game, made it better. There's so much evidence of this. There's no evidence that they made you anybody worse, but there is evidence of other players that do that. So anyway, that's about all I got for this video. One thing that always bugged me too is this empty stat business. People will bring it up about like, oh, Kevin Love, Chris Bosh, they had empty stats. What does it mean to have empty stats? I never understood what that meant. If you're the best player on a team and, you're not going to the playoffs or whatever, yeah, naturally you're probably going to have, a lot of points or whatever. You're going to, if you're the lead guy, the best player on the team, you're going to have stats, of course. That's why it's the job of whoever the leader of the team is who gets this player coming to your team to try to reenact that, let them play their game. You want them to get their numbers. Why wouldn't you? Because that's what's going to help you win. By smothering them and, deflating their numbers, your team is not going to be better. You're turning an all-NBA player into a fringe all-star? How does that help you? Makes no sense. And people who keep playing this stupid game about, it makes people better, please. These three guys made their teammates better, whether they are on the court or even off the court. Jordan was maybe the best at off the court by pushing these guys, even when they're sick of him and they hate him and all that kind of stuff, pushing them to be better players, to be winners. And that's what it's all about, winning, period. You can have all the stats in the world, but you're supposed to be playing to win. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys for watching, as always. If you liked it, please hit the like button. And until next time.